The weather said we were going into 4 straight days of rain, and today was day one of that. It's been mostly a light drizzle the entire day, so I didn't want to run extension cords and operate saws and that. So it really wasn't the best day to be working on the cabin. So I said, okay, well, I'll look around and find some other things I can do. And it turns out there was a few things that you can take lessons from in just listening to what the universe is trying to tell you. After all the work was done on the hill, we had a big downpour where a bunch of silt had washed down and collected right here. So the water from the ditch was not moving properly the way it was. So I got down in here and just moved it a little bit, just so it sits nicely. Now, my purpose was not to make this permanent. This is how I'm going to do it. I figured, no, I'm just going to just kind of direct it the way I would like it. And then I'm just going to step back, let it rain for the next few days and just see what happens. It's arrogant to think that you can just come in and tell nature, this is what I want you to do, and it's going to behave that way. I think it's best to uh, just sit back and direct it, nudge it in the direction you would like things to go, and then just step back and see what happens with it. And then I can come back after it rains again and see what it does and then respond accordingly to what I need to do afterwards. It's the end of December and I actually just scared some frogs that were down here in this creek. It's going to take some time for me to get used to how warm it is in this climate. Frogs in winter? Crazy. I learned the same lesson about stepping back and just observing what nature wants to do back in my old yard. Years ago, I decided to do some gardening. And of course, I came in with the attitude, oh, I'm going to plant this here and this here and this here, and even had it diagrammed out on paper and everything. And guess what happened? Total failure. For years, I just failure after failure after failure. And finally, I got it one year. I said, you know what? You tell me what you want. So I just collected all the seeds that I would like to plant and all that and just mixed it all up and just spread it all over the place. And guess what happened? It wasn't perfect, but it was good. I grew a lot of things that year. And then subsequent years after that, it just got better and better. You know, if you just listen to nature and let it tell you, the soil will let you know, okay, this is what I need here. You may want this, but this is what the soil needs in order to build itself in the healthier state. Then once it's in the healthier state, you may be able to do something else. But that's what weeds are. What people call weeds are actually nurse plants. They come in when there's disturbed soil and they come in and fix it. That's just their niche, just like a plumber. They come in when plumbing is not working and they fix it. So you have things that are nutrient accumulators like a dandelion, which has a real deep taproot. So it will go down many feet into the earth, and it'll collect potassium and all these minerals in that, and it will bring it up the plant into the leafy part of the plant and hold it there. Well, then at the end of the season, when that plant dies, it just all falls down. But now all those nutrients that it accumulated are now up on the top and usable in the top layer of soil for other plants now to use. And then there's things like clover that are nitrogen fixers. When nitrogen is lacking in the soil, it will actually take air from the atmosphere and convert it into nitrogen and put it in the soil for something else to use. So actually, back in the day, when you bought grass seed for a lawn, it actually came mixed with white clover in it. That was just because everybody knew that you had a healthier grass lawn by having those clovers in it. Well, then one day the Dow company came out with glycophosphate, which is more commonly known as Roundup. And of course, the Roundup killed the clover, so the Dow company said, "Oh, that's a weed now." So if you would just avoid the Roundup and you just allow some clover to grow in your lawn, it will be healthier than it's ever been without using chemicals and without making this corporation rich. You know, it's time for us to just stop listening to these corporations and these people in charge. I mean, we've tried their system, their way for 100 years, and look what it's led us to. It's collapsing and it's falling apart and it's failing us. It's time for us to just start doing things our way and listening to what the environment is actually telling us it needs, and then work in cooperation with that. When the work on the hill was done, a bunch of fill got left behind, which I was happy to. I'm like, yeah, leave it here for me. I could always use that. And I ended up patching some other little ruts that were in the trail that helped out. And while I'm doing the work, just kind of mindlessly, you know, shoveling and wheelbarrowing around a bunch of dirt, my eye kept getting drawn off to this one area over here, and I kept thinking, you know, I bet you I can do something with that. During the middle of the day, even though it was, of course, gloomy and overcast because it was drizzling, there's still always a little bit of sun that comes through the clouds. And I had noticed this steep hill right here was in perfect alignment where there was actually a lot of sun hitting it. And I'm looking at the orientation of how the sun moves and the way the hill was. And, you know, I had previously had it in my head like, oh, that's really too steep to do anything with. But thinking about it, it's like, you know, if I could cut out some of the small stuff in here, there actually might be some vining plants and foods and things like that I can grow there. And I'm going to give that a try. So I think part of needing to fill in those ruts was kind of a way of telling me, hey, look over here. This is something that you can do something with. So because the van is my primary driver, the truck mostly just sits here. Well, it's not really good for a vehicle to just sit and not move. So a couple times a week, I like to just go drive it out in the town if I don't have use for it, and just go get it up to speed and then bring it back in and park it just to keep it moving and everything. Well, of course, I had taken it in, and as soon as I got back here, I went to throw it in park, and the shift lever just was flopping around, nothing. I was like, oh, of course. So I couldn't even throw it in the park. I just turned it off and got out and chocked the wheels with some rocks. So I got a chance today to get up under there and look, and there's a cable, shift cable, that runs from your shifter down through the floor to your transmission to tell it which gear to move into. And looking at it, that cable snapped and it was all frayed and messed up in that. So I tried tracing it back where it goes up through the floor, goes underneath the carpet, and then up into it. And I think I can access the entire thing. So I believe it's something I'll be able to fix myself. Just next time I go into town, I'll have to stop at the auto parts store, and they're probably going to have to order that for me. I imagine they probably don't have it in stock for this vehicle. But I am not a mechanic whatsoever. I've never been good with working on vehicles. Never really had much interest in learning it. But again, I think this is one of those things where it would be too difficult for them to get a tow truck up in here. So it's not like I can just call up a shop and be like, hey, come tow me out of here and go fix my problem. I don't think they would even be willing to bring a tow truck up here. So it's kind of something I have to fix myself. So I think that's good. I think the universe was looking at me and saying, hey, you really suck at doing this, homeboy. It's time for you to figure out how, you know? So it kind of forced me into a position where I'm going to have to learn how to do this. And I think that's a good thing. You know, when the universe tells you something, listen to it. You know, when you get winded tying your shoes, it's probably the universe trying to tell you, hey, it's time to lose a few pounds, you know? There's just all kinds of signs when you're starting to have health problems. Your body tells you, hey, this isn't going right, this isn't going right. And if you ignore those signs, you're going to end up having much more severe problems down the road. So maybe this rain coming ahead was meant for a reason. Maybe me just randomly picking these few things to take care of today was for a reason. You know, maybe it then got me thinking about listening to what the universe is trying to say, and then me coming and making a video. And then maybe somebody watching this is going to think about that, and then that's going to have something that changes something in their life. I don't know. I mean, you can go really deep down that rabbit hole when you start thinking like that. I don't know, but it's just interesting. You know, when things happen, it may not be what you want it to be each day, but who knows? Just kind of think of it in terms of, instead of just being upset like, oh, why isn't everything working out for me? Just stop and think. Maybe the universe is trying to tell me something today. And I think one of the best skills that we have as human beings is our skill of observation. You know, too many people today just don't use that skill. We're so conditioned to that. If you got some problem, we just go and Google the answer. But maybe it's better to just step back and just observe what's going on in the world around you. Just, I think you get so much more information back that way by just observing everything going on around you and then reacting to that. Take that information and do something positive with it.